Welcome back to another episode of Building the Pride. I'm your host, Drew, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever, Drew. How about yourself?
I am doing pretty well, all things considered, so thank you for asking.
Outstanding.
Well,
Uh,
you haven't expressed an interest to keep this podcast, let's just say, under 2 hours.
yes, please.
Because we always say we want to do it quickly, and then we always end up going 2 hours. So
Because there's just too much fun going on, and we
it's
just can't stop the fun.
a lot of fun. And so we're going to try and do that. So let's get right into news and notes around the NFL, shall we?
Let's
Mike,
do it.
what's
Yeah.
going on?
To me, the biggest news is two very high-profile players are officially on the trading block. Myles Garrett, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, asked to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. And Cooper Kupp, the one-time Triple Crown winning wide receiver and offensive player of the year, was told by the Los Angeles Rams that he will be traded this offseason. So obviously, those are both. I mean, those are both big players, big news. So I'm kind of curious what comes of it. For Myles Garrett, he's been tied to us. A lot of people think that we're the most likely spot. We do have some of the most money of any team in the league, and he's only owed $40 million over the next 2 years combined. We can definitely do that. So I'm kind of curious what control he has over where he goes, and if the Lions are willing to. I mean, because you're not going to give him. You're going to have to give up something for this guy, right? Like, you can't just go, "Oh, I'll take him and his contract for free." It's going to be a pair of ones or a 1 and a 2. I've heard some things floated like one, a first, a third, and Sam Laporta, that kind of stuff. So I'll be curious what the asking price is and whether Brad's willing to deal. What are your thoughts on both Coop and on Garrett?
Well, the good news is I know where Myles Garrett's playing next season.
You think it's going to be in Cleveland?
That's in Cleveland. So, if they trade him before the NFL draft, which if they think they're rebuilding, I would love to get into this more maybe next week.
Yeah, let's do that.
But if they think they're rebuilding, they need picks for not this upcoming draft, but the 2026 draft, where you have quarterbacks like Arch Manning and Drew Aller in the draft class. Like, those guys look like teams you can build a franchise around. And so they should be using this draft to prep their team for them.
Offensive linemen, wide receiver targets, tight end targets.
Exactly. So if you trade Myles Garrett before the draft, they have to take a $36 million dead cap hit and then restructure their two biggest guys and cut their third biggest just to be able to absorb his cap hit. So I doubt they want to do that.
Right.
I would not trade Myles Garrett for anything less than 2 first-round picks if I was the GM of the Cleveland Browns, and he's already said anything less than 2-round picks is a non-starter. So that's a decent bargaining position to have.
Start with, yep.
Yep. And they'll find...
So after all, he might be requesting a trade or demanding a trade, but you don't have to, right? You can sit out and not pay the guy.
Correct. And they will recoup millions and millions of dollars by fining him. So, and then give it all back when he decides he'll play for him again. So I also looked at what it would take for the Lions to get him. And while they can absorb his contract this year and next year, because you're right, he's underpaid for what his value is. If they were to extend him at all, I think it becomes completely unobtainable if you want to re-sign players like Kirby Joseph, JMO, that group. core guys
Right.
branch. Like, I don't think that you can have Myles Garrett, but then you're going to have to give up guys who have been on this roster their whole first contract
Yeah.
that are potentially staples. And like, maybe Brad does it. I haven't seen any evidence that he will do that.
He's never made this kind of a move, so until he does, it's not going to happen, right? Like, Pickard didn't happen, Brad, right?
If Myles Garrett does get traded, my leader in the clubhouse for him are the Commanders. They have a ton of cap space. They have their rookie quarterback on his deal. So if they sign him and extend him, the first year of Daniel's extension will probably only overlap with the end of Garrett's extension by 1 year.
Right.
And then they would have their pillars. And like, I don't know that they would worry about trading their first round picks if they're going to trade in the late 20s. You know, so like, if they think that this is where they are as an organization, like, and they have the ability to absorb him in the way that a team should be looking to absorb Myles Garrett and extend him.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to give up or lose any players that are on our roster I think Myles Garrett would be great. I just don't want to lose him.
So, and we won't dive too deep into this, and I think we can dive more next week after the Super Bowl and the offseason really like fully gets into swing when, the one thought I had was I wonder if Hendon Hooker is a piece that they would be willing or that they would want to do, right? They don't have a quarterback. They need a quarterback. Is that something that is enticing to them that may take the place of a one? Like, not that there would be just like a first and Hooker, but like a first and third and Hooker, that kind of thing. And would you do that?
Well, hey, Michael.
What's up, Michael?
I would trade Hendon Hooker at this point in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Lions have any plans for him to be in their future. And I don't know that he has any value. Like, there are guys in this league that are in his position that I think would warrant some kind of interest.
Yeah.
And they just don't seem to generate it. And I don't know. It's almost like once they get into the NFL, it's like they're damaged goods.
2 firsts, a third, and a Hooker, done deal.
We'll get more into this in a future episode. But like, I have a team that I would love to trade for Cooper Kupp. So, but before I reveal it, is there a
but not us?
Not us. It's not the Lions. Before I do that, though, is there a team you would want to see him go to? If he can't be a Ram, who should he be?
If he can't be a Ram, I feel like, he'd be really good in Chicago or Washington or the Chargers. Those would be the three. I'm like, give Justin Herbert a sure-handed, great route running dude when he's healthy, right? Let's just hope that he's healthy. I think it gives the Bears the same thing, and I think Caleb Williams really needs somebody he can truly count on, and I think he's that guy. And man, I feel like in Washington, if Jaden Daniels has a dude like Cooper Kupp, watch out. So those would be my top three. Not necessarily in that order, but like those are my top three.
I like the idea of Cooper Kupp in Philly. So
interesting.
So he could be a veteran, rental. Probably, I mean, you could probably get him draft day pretty cheaply, probably before draft day. These kinds of guys, these kind of veteran guys sometimes end up going for like, you give me a sixth, and I'll give you a seventh, and and then I get Cooper Kupp, or whatever. Yeah. So I don't think that he's going to be going. I doubt he goes for a day 2 pick, even though he's great. And I saw something today that like if the Rams wait, I can't remember, it must be after June 1st. Like his salary that an acquiring team would take goes from 20 million down to like 12 something, and that's way more palatable. So even though they said the word immediately in their press, or like that he said they told him in his press release, I wonder if it's going to be like we're just putting him on the block for the league to understand, and we'll trade him when he's more palatable to be taken. Because I mean, unless you're somebody that can absorb the money, then he might be good in New England with Drake May. I mean, that might be an interesting move. They have terrible wide receivers.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, one of the things that they said, or that Coop said, was that they were going to find him a place where he can compete. Let me pop this on screen here. So this was his. Let's see, zoom. It's not really zooming, is it? So it sounded like they're willing to trade him to a place where he can continue to compete for championships, just not in LA where he costs $20 million a year, right? So I feel like they won't trade him to New England because that's not what he's not competing for championships in New England. Let's be real, right? So, but Washington, Philly, okay, Chargers, I think all of those could be competing for championships or at least playoff level teams. So, and that's where the Bears probably don't fit that mix yet. 2 years from now, maybe, but like right now, I don't think that's a team that they would say, yeah, you're competing for a championship. We're cool, going there. And Coop would be like, yeah, I'm cool with that, right?
We'll see.
Yeah. Dr. D, we started talking Myles Garrett, and then we also kind of switched over to Cooper Kupp. He was the other guy that just landed on a trade block just in the last couple days here.
Oh, Kansas City might be interested.
They're always interested in cast-offs, and they seem to do okay with them, right?
Yeah, why not, man?
God, that'd be stupid.
You just know.
Don't let it happen. Just don't let it happen.
I mean, like that's now I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, you want to compete for championships? All right, makes a lot of sense. Does I don't know. Does
Baltimore
I mean, like I think that he would be fine in Baltimore. Like he would. The problem that I have with like people that say like Kupp to like Baltimore, Kupp to Detroit is that like Baltimore and Detroit have dedicated slot receivers. And Kupp can certainly play on the outside, but like he's super effective when he's in the slot. So like, I don't know about I mean, I'm sure that each would split time there, but if he's like 70-30 on the outside, then like I don't.
Yeah, and we've got a guy outside.
Yeah, I don't know what that looks like. I mean, like there's really just no spots in Detroit. Like the roster is pretty tight.
He's not a guy that's going to be the jump ball guy, like to take over Tim Patrick's spot. He's not the speedster outside that's going to take J-Mo's spot, and he's not going to be the inside slant guy, sure catching dude. I mean, he is, but like he's not going to take over St. Brown, right? So like we just don't have a spot for him. God, Kansas City would be a perfect spot for him.
That really is,
yeah. Oh man, that would be terrible for the Kansas City's opponents.
Yeah, if I was the Chiefs, I'd be all over it. Like, if I was the Chiefs, I'd be like, "We're interested in Kupp. You call us back, and we'll talk. Like, we'll better your best offer or whatever." Like, I don't know what their salary cap looks like, but like,
I'm just looking at right now.
They're probably.
Come on,
I like this site, but my God, does this guy sell out hard for ads?
So this is what they're looking like for 25.
So they have
real
11
tight
million in cap space.
Real tight.
That's going to change at some point. So that's barely enough to get your rookie class signed. So I mean, like something's happening there. They're probably going to lose Trey Smith, and they're going to need to make some choices. And everybody needs to make any choices.
Yeah, I mean, is this something like Xavier Worthy?
What do you mean? It's something like Xavier Worthy?
I mean, is that something that they would potentially cut?
Oh, possibly. I mean, like I would be looking at. Well,
although they wouldn't be saving $8 million there. They'd be
losing $8 million.
Yeah.
So Mike, go up.
That'd be dead cap, right?
Go up to say cut pre-June 1 and get the drop down on the upper right hand. Yeah. And then go to restructure. So here we can get a look at how they could free up some space. So if they restructure Chris Jones, and just be like, hey, Chris, we just want to give you all the money right now. He'd be like, oh, neat. I've never heard of a player turning down.
Yeah. Immediate cash.
Yeah. So they could be like, oh, okay, we want Cooper Kupp. You mind if we restructure your deal? And then that frees up $8 million for us. Plus we get,
do you want to do a 4-peat?
Yeah. Who wouldn't? I mean, I know lots of teams that be like, yeah, we'd love to win 4 Super Bowls in a row.
I would take future money for now money if it also helps me get to a 4-peat, right? So yeah, it's super interesting. I'll be curious to see how the Cooper Kupp thing ends up. Obviously, if Kansas City is a potential trade target for them, they can't do that right now, right? That Super Bowl hasn't taken place. So the most that they could do is start. I would assume they can start talking with GMs. They could probably talk to the GM of the Chiefs, but they just can't pull any triggers until after.
Agents are chatting. So
yeah.
Well, Mike, we had one more item, but we've already talked way too much about this other stuff. So Brian is very insistent on the doing the mock draft. Should we start?
Yeah, I'm popping over here. 2025 mock draft simulator.
Mike is the captain of the ship. He's the guy with his hand on the steering wheel. Whatever the big wheel is on the ship that you turn to make the ship go where you want. The mat? No, it's not the mast. It's a wheel. We've all seen it. We've watched Pirates.
Giant steering wheel. Yeah.
So we're going to do a first round mock for. You are pushy, Brian. We're going to do a first round mock for everybody, and then we are going to do a 7-round Lions mock. Okay. So stick with us. All right.
Do it,
Mike.
So we're drafting all of them. So none of this technically really matters.
Correct.
But we usually kind of put this in the middle, right?
Yeah. So I want to talk about final say. All right. So here's what I think we do. I think we go odds, evens.
Okay.
And then we discuss the pick, and then whoever has the final say on that pick gets to make the decision.
All right. Do you want to do odds, evens, or do you want to do like AFC, NFC?
I don't care. However you want to do. I think that's fine. I'll take the AFC.
All right. I'll take the NFC.
Okay. Because I'm going to start off with a fucking banger.
All right. So the Tennessee Titans are on the clock.
Let's make it a little bit bigger if we can. Just maybe like one notch. Yeah, that seems pretty good. Okay. So let's start the draft. Oh, that's perfect. So the thing I don't like about this mock draft simulator, if I have a pet peeve, is that when you make it bigger and you put it in like one of our streams, you only get to see 2 people.
Yeah. So you can scroll a little bit.
Yeah.
But
so the Titans have said they will not pass on a generational talent. I don't know if there is a generational talent in this draft. If there is one, it's Travis Hunter. So I do not believe that the Tennessee Titans are in a position to support a rookie quarterback. Their line is not good enough. They have no skill position players of note. Calvin Ridley's about their best skill position player. They can't support a running game once again because of their line. The only thing they really have going for them is their defense. And if that's the case, like let's make that as good as it can be. I think Travis Hunter is going to generate turnovers because he has about the best ball skills of any cornerback that I've ever seen. And I've been watching it for a while now. So, and you can have a package for him on the offensive side as a wide receiver. So I think he helps 2 different areas. So I'm going to pick Travis Hunter, the best player in the draft for the Tennessee Titans at 1.
I have to ask this question.
Yeah.
Has a cornerback ever been taken number 1 overall? Or is Deion Sanders, who was like, 3 or something?
3, I think.
Like, Is this not? I mean, this just seems like blasphemy. You're not taking a quarterback
Well,
or an edge rusher.
So Abdul Carter is the only other guy I would consider here. If he was drafted as a wide receiver, he's the first one to go number 1 since Keyshawn Johnson, I believe, in 1997. And I don't know if a cornerback has ever gone number 1. And I'll look that up right now. But I just think that
I have a list. Wikipedia is our friend here, and these are the number ones for the last several years: quarterback, edge rusher, quarterback, defensive end, Myles Garrett, quarterback, defensive end. And we finally get to a non-edge, non-quarterback. That's Eric Fisher in 2013. Quarterback, tackle.
Yep.
I don't see.
I did a quick Google search. There has never been a cornerback to go number 1. So Michael Lucci says trade out. And so here's the thing about trading out of number 1 is that you have to have someone to trade out with, right? And there has to be somebody that they want. So unless we're talking about Vegas coming up for a quarterback, and it has to be one of these two quarterbacks, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, I can't. If it's trade out, then if they can find a partner, I agree. That's the best decision for this franchise because they have too many holes. But we're not going to be doing trades today because free agency hasn't happened and there's no way to anticipate what teams still need. So I think it's Travis Hunter.
Yeah. I just had to throw that out there, right?
No, you're correct.
Right? Because I'm just like, really? A cornerback. All right, let's do it.
It's correct to do so. If he didn't play two positions, I don't think that I would even consider it.
Yeah. All right. Our Cleveland Browns, future Myles Garrett list, potentially. Cleveland Browns. Is this we take Abdul Carter to replace Myles Garrett now?
So they are also in the AFC, so I get to make this pick too.
This is true.
I think they signed Kirk Cousins in the offseason, and I can hear you guys now like, ooh, Kirk Cousins, amazing. But maybe it's Justin Fields, and I think that Justin Fields is the kind of guy that if I signed him to a 2-year deal, I would be pretty happy having him be a mobile, big quarterback. Yeah, Michael's trading out again. So,
no, I don't want to draft anybody in the top 3. Nobody's worth it.
Same problem, So I don't think that Cleveland is good enough to support a rookie quarterback. So I would rather sign somebody like Justin Fields, 2-3-year deal even, get out from under Deshaun Watson, get my books right, and just draft talent. And so even though I want this to be an offensive lineman, the best player on the board is Abdul Carter. And whether you have Myles Garrett and you play Abdul Carter with him, that's cool. And if you don't have Myles Garrett, then you need Abdul Carter because you don't have anyone else that can rush the passer. So I'm going to take Abdul Carter.
Yeah.
NFC,
all right.
You're here. Now
NFC. So we've got the Giants, and they're a mess. I'm not sure any of the quarterbacks are worth taking in the top 3. They do need a defensive back, so it is kind of a bummer that Travis Hunter is off the list there. But guys like Will Johnson's available, Malachi Starks is available. I'm not sure either of those guys are quite 3rd overall quality. I haven't seen Michael say trade out yet, but
it's
I'm sure it is. I feel like if they had McMillan on the opposite side of who was the rookie wide receiver that just played really well this last year?
Starts with an N, and I can't remember.
Malik Neighbors.
Yes. You did it.
I feel like that sets, again, just like you, hey, they don't really have a quarterback of the future as far as I'm concerned. But if you can give them 2 really good guys next year, I think that's when you start going for that. Or Maybe they trade up in the middle of the first and grab a guy like Shadur Sanders or Cam Ward, right? But like I'd start with McMillan here.
So this is you have final say. This is the first team that I think the owner is making the pick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't think that either their GM or their coach makes it out the door draft night if they don't draft a quarterback here. I think that they are. I think they've been giving marching orders to be like, you must draft a quarterback in this class, and like, I don't know if that's true. And like the problem that I have here again with the Giants is that it's two guys drafting a quarterback, presumably, to save their jobs. And if they don't do that, they're fired anyways. So like, yes, if there was a Sewell, I mean, like, if there was a, so I think that I was just going to say, I don't think you can take a DB at 3, but then I was like, well, Drew, what did you just do?
What did you do at number 1?
What did you do at number 1, Drew? You liar, So like, the thing is, I mean, it's your pick. If you, Michael would do, if he was the GM of the New York Giants. I would do that,
and then I would trade up middle. I would trade like next year's first or something like that. And I know they've got 3 more picks. I don't know where they're at. If they're first, second, third, and they don't have anything else, that's cool. But like, I'd take this guy and then trade up to try to get Cam Ward in the middle of the first, and just be like, all right, we're moving.
So their remaining pick is the 3rd pick, which is the one that we're doing for them right now. That's how that reads.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So, all right, you do you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that one. We're gonna do that. We're gonna set the wide receiver, the quarterback up for something at least.
All right. So,
yeah, that's a fair point, Michael.
We're back to the AFC.
Boy, the AFC's bad this year.
Not very good. We're not very good.
And yet they still had like 3 of the 4 or 5 best teams in the NFL.
It's true. We're back to the AFC. The New England needs to support Drake May. They absolutely must support Drake May. And the team in front of them, the asshole Giants, just took the guy that I wanted for my second-year QB.
You were trying to convince me not to. You bastard.
I was doing everything I could. I gotta watch out for my boy. But I think this pick has to be. Now there's no wide receiver available. I'm not going to draft Ashton Jeanty at 4. And I think that this pick needs to be an offensive lineman. And my favorite offensive lineman in this class is Kelvin Banks from Texas. So he's been a left tackle his whole career at Texas. Some people think, hey, Danny Coates.
What's up, Danny?
Yeah, Mason Graham's a good pass rusher, but like, they also have a quarterback that they need to support, and they haven't done anything to do so yet. So, except for trade for Cooper Kupp, right? So, I'm going to draft Kelvin Banks to be a cornerstone of my new offensive line in New England.
Right on.
Okay, so I've been wanting to say this for a while. This is the AFC. I get to do it again. I get to do a lot of AFC picks here in the top 10. So, you
get all the good ones. I'm stuck with the scrubs.
I know. The Jaguars have finally fired Trent Baalke, which means they can draft players from Michigan. So Mason Graham, welcome to the defensive line of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't know how I'm ever going to move off of this pick. Yeah. I do not know how I am ever going to logic my way out of Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Your defensive line could be Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Mason Graham, and is it Eric Armstead is the guy they got from San Francisco last offseason? Like, I love that.
Yeah.
Trayvon
Walker being the only other non-quarterback taken number 1 overall in the last, decade or whatever. All right, Mason Graham, welcome to Jacksonville. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, I know, right? You get to play in London twice a year. Hooray.
Yeah. Poor Londoners.
Yeah.
Like if beating them in the Revolutionary War wasn't good enough
Yeah.
or bad enough, we're going to force them to watch Jacksonville a couple times.
We're going to send people from Florida to you multiple times a year. So, once again, the AFC. Here we are. We have the...
You're going on a string, man. The next one's AFC too.
Yeah. So, it's actually interesting because I haven't considered this at this point, which is why the draft is so fun, because no matter what you do, it's always different than what you had previously done. So they will draft a quarterback if one of these two guys is on the board, and I will take Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, which you might have to scroll a bunch because I think he's the 42nd prospect on this list when I looked at it today.
He's not even the highest graded Sanders.
No.
There he is. All right.
So
welcome to Las Vegas.
Shedeur Sanders throwing to Brock Bowers is a pretty good start. Okay. So, Aaron,
you're up again, Drew.
Yeah.
Be ready, buddy.
I don't even get a chance to breathe. So, Aaron Glenn's New York Jets. The guy that I want to take here is Malachi Starks because he is like the Brian Branch equivalent type of player, and I think that Aaron Glenn would love that kind of guy. I hear
a butt coming.
I do think Aaron Rodgers will come back for one more year in New York. All the signs seem to point that way, which is sad.
Well, he's got 50 million reasons to do it, right?
He's so terrible. I do like Will Johnson more. So I'm going to take Will Johnson. I think pairing him with Sauce Gardner will be a cornerback room of note for a long time. So, thank God, an NFC team.
Oh, I'm stuck with the Panthers. All right. I'm surprised that they only have two needs up here because I feel like they need almost somebody at every position.
Yeah.
And to be honest, even quarterback isn't off the table for them at this point. I think it's probably too early to give up on their guy. They just drafted him 2 years ago, but
he finished the season real strong.
He did. I mean, he got benched, then he finished strong. So, I feel like they're going to give him some more time. I think this is probably where Starks goes, needing somebody in that defensive backfield. And while they need defensive line as well, I think that their defensive line is better than I think their secondary. So I think Starks will do more for them than a guy like Pierce will up front. So I'm going to go with Starks there.
Okay. Phew, New Orleans.
All right, looks like I'm going to be going on a roll now because I've got 3 more in a row. The New Orleans Saints. I'm trying to think, who is their quarterback now? I mean, they're kind of quarterback needy, aren't they?
It's the guy from the Raiders. What's his name?
Carr?
Yeah, it's still Carr.
Yeah.
He just got hurt last year.
Yeah. Is this the time where they take a guy like like Cam Ward?
I mean, if he's on the board, Carr, it's possible. Derek Carr.
Yeah. Man.
I have a guy that I would love to see go there.
Who's that?
Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State. You don't have to do it by any stretch, but having him lined up next to Chris Olave seems like a lot of fun.
And he's improved every year there. 91.2 is a pretty damn good grade.
Yeah, he was excellent.
So,
in none of the mocks I've ever done has a quarterback been here for them.
About
it, yeah.
I feel like Tyler Warren would be great there. They've got a couple wide receivers that are good. Are they going to be picking this high next year if Derek Carr plays okay? Are they going to have an opportunity to get a potential quarterback next year? And if not, I think that's what the GM has to do is like, if I don't think I can get a quarterback next year, why wouldn't I grab Cam Ward here? Even though I do have Carr. So this is where I'm struggling. I think Cam Ward is probably the pick here. He can sit a year behind Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I've convinced myself. I'm going to go with Cam Ward.
Yeah, that's good.
Chicago, they've got DeAndre Swift at running back. They've got a pretty decent wide receiver crew. They need offensive line help. Caleb Williams, I think, was the most sacked or like top 2, top 3 sacked quarterbacks in the NFL this past year. I'm not sure they necessarily need a tackle, though.
Well, so he can play anything from center to tackle.
Okay.
I believe that he took reps
So
at
he
the
was
Senior Bowl at all 3 positions. So
Did he? Okay. I mean, if that's the case, I think maybe this is the guy that you take. How big is he? He's 6'6", 323.
he's big.
So he's not enormous, but like he's not small, right? When I say enormous, I'm thinking your Dan Skippers, your 6'9", 6'10", 340 guys, right? Like, I think they need offensive line help, and he's probably the best on the board at this point that would fit that spot. So let's go with Will Campbell.
Yeah, I like it.
The Niners, I think they take the other tackle. I think they take Josh Simmons.
Okay.
Purdy is a decent quarterback. He's not elite in any way, but if you can give him time, he's shown to be accurate, and I think that's where you get that. Is there? I mean, they're going to draft Genty, right?
So
Like in Dallas.
So okay, so like I think that is the pick that has been making the rounds, right? Like they need a running back. They need a running back. Genty's the best running back in the draft. This is a very popular pick. I don't really have any problems with it. Here's my thing. Jerry Jones loves drafting guys from like the South. So like he loves drafting dudes from Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, like that area. He likes those guys. Don't know why. Maybe it's just like people feel connected to them because they've seen them play college ball or high school ball.
Yeah.
So there's a name here I would look
He's
out
a small
for.
dude too.
He is
only
small.
5'9".
So like he reminds me of Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
But the name that I would watch here is Texas wide receiver Matthew Golden to pair with CeeDee Lamb. You might have to search for him. Oh, there he is. So this is the guy who no one thought was coming out this year. And everybody is like, this is the smooth, silky route runner that will play on the outside so CeeDee Lamb can be in the slot. And, I mean, like, name a second wide receiver that Dallas has. Right.
Yeah.
So, like, he went to Texas. He's a wide receiver. Jerry Jones. Like, to me, the stars are kind of coming into alignment on this one.
Yeah.
But I would also not be surprised whatsoever if Ashton Genty was the pick here.
Yeah. I mean, who do they have as running back at this point?
They had some dude that played well this year that I have never heard of before, and then no one. So, like, that's the reason why I think it makes sense, is people can look at it and be like, that's an obvious need. Oh, this kid's really good. You know, Idaho's not really next door to Texas, but like it's more west than it is East Coast. And like, I just don't see Dallas drafting East Coast guys. Yeah.
And I think this is the pick. It gives them someone dynamic. I think with the success that both Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson had, the last couple first-round draft choices actually worked well. Unlike previous first-round draft choices that were running backs were not as successful. I think this is giving Jerry Jones the gumption to just take another running back. And 12 isn't absurd. That was where we picked Gibbs, right? Was 12,
Right.
if I recall.
Okay, we're back to
It's
me
the fish.
in the AFC, and I have a player that I really like for Miami here, and that is tackle Armand Membo from Missouri. So he is a guy that can play right tackle, which that's the position that they need, and potentially that's a lot of blue on those grades. So like potentially he could also play inside for them. So depending on what the free agency looks like, you don't necessarily, if you go into this guy has positional versatility, he could play on the interior and move out if there's an injury or like later on in his career. If like, what's the guys who's the guy that they have playing left tackle for Miami is was the Saints left tackle for a long time. Starts with a T, I think. I can't remember his name. He's really good when he's not hurt. The problem is that he's hurt a lot. So I would pick this guy to play opposite of whomever that left tackle is. Thanks you, Terran Armstead. Danny, you are on fire. So
he can just Google it faster than me.
Yeah, it's true. So, like, I would pick Membo to be on the other side of Terran Armstead, possibly even playing on the interior to solidify their offensive line because Tua cannot take another concussion.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. Membo.
Let's do it. This is the easiest pick in the entire draft for me. This is Tyler Warren from Penn State. You literally have no skill position on the offense that you can address. You have Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, Alex Pierce, and I feel like they have one more wide receiver, Danny, that I can't remember. Who's also it's the kid from USC, big dude. What is his name? Michael Pierce? No, that's not right. Michael Pittman. They have Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
So like now they have. Literally no. I got there first, Danny. I beat you. So like, they have no offensive skill position player that you can look at and be like, no, that's a dude. That's a productive, helpful guy. And they have a good offensive line. They need to re-sign one or two of their. Okay, they need to re-sign one or two of their offensive linemen that have their contracts are up, but that shouldn't be a big deal. And then now Anthony Richardson has zero excuses.
Right, to not be successful.
Right. So if you need to be like, I need to figure out whether or not Anthony Richardson is the dude moving forward, Tyler Warren's going to help you answer that question. So, and if he's not, you put Joe Flacco or some aging wonder back there, like it's good for him too. So
yeah. Or trade for Hendon Hooker. Come on. We're
trade for Hendon Hooker.
We just want assets.
Hendon, we're helping you out here.
Yeah. The Atlanta Falcons, they've got their quarterback of the future. They've got a great running back. They've got a great tight end. I feel like they need a wide receiver to complete that offense. Mm-hmm. Which one do you think would you go with, Igbuka or Burden? Which one do you feel is probably better?
This is an interesting question because I don't know what they want their offense to be. So, like, Bijan Robinson is an excellent guy. He breaks a lot of tackles. I know who it is. It's Luther Burden. Like, Luther Burden is an absolute yak monster, yards after catch. Like, he is going to break knees and tackles as he goes. So, like, I would be surprised if that isn't what they're predicating their offensive on. Yeah.
He is first in missed tackles forced.
And this was a down year for him. So
Burden it is.
I think Burden is a good choice here.
All right. Arizona is now sad that the top two quarterbacks are off the board.
They have Kyler Murray.
I don't think I think they would replace him if Cam Ward was available.
Oh, hard disagree.
I was talking with one of my vendor friends, big. Well, you've met him, Luke.
Yeah.
He did our draft, right? He's like, Yeah, if we can get a quarterback to replace Kyler, wouldn't be a bad deal. I'm like, oh, interesting. So, but maybe they just need offensive line to give him a little bit more time. Um, so I'm wondering where we're at on the guard tackle situation, and we've gotten all the best ones. So we got Gray Zabel from North Dakota State. His average draft position is 36. Like, is this a reach at 16 for him? And then you got Cornerly. Again, is this a reach at 16? So do we go back and just go, well, let's just take the best defensive lineman that we can get in Pierce and Green? So that's kind of where I'm thinking.
This is the other popular Myles Garrett trade destination that I've heard being speculated about, is even though their cap doesn't support it.
Yeah. And he probably wants to go to a team that's on the verge
probably
of winning. This is not that team.
Let's well, I mean, they're not bad. I mean 16 right in the middle. But let's scroll up here a little bit and let's go down and look at tackles. Let's search for just tackles. Yeah.
So slim pickings. We've already taken the best.
Well, I do like Connerly.
But address someone for Kyler.
You're definitely not
to sit on the shoulder of.
Oh, because he's so short. Of all of these choices, I think Connerly is the best prospect. I will not agree with North Dakota State players until I see more than one of them work out in the NFL. So I don't know. I just think that there's just like an epidemic of bad offensive line play in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I am just personally just addicted to improving people's offensive lines. So like I would probably take Connerly here if I was the GM of the Cardinals, like if this is how the board broke.
Yeah. So the thought that I'm having on Pierce or Green is they're going to be playing, they're in the NFC West, right? So they're going to be playing the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers twice a year. And basically all of those teams, Trent Williams is with the Rams or with the 49ers. He's getting older, but he's still damn good. The Rams don't have a phenomenal left tackle or right tackle. The Seahawks don't have amazing tackles. Is this an opportunity within the division to get a leg up on the thing that your opponents do poorly?
Well, I think that Seattle has a really good left tackle in Charles Cross.
Right, so they've got one, and then Trent Williams is one.
Yeah.
So they're like vulnerable on. They don't have two. Rams don't have either of them are particularly good.
Correct.
So
now the Cardinals left tackle is Paris Johnson, and he's scored quite well. He scored an 80 and ranked 12th among starting tackles per PFF. Yep. So I think that I am a huge fan of building strength on strength. So I mean, they have Jonah Williams, who was a longtime Bengals tackle, who I believe is signed on a 1-year deal, and so Also, Jonah Williams, So like, Connerly played left tackle at Oregon, so he'd have to move to the right side or play guard. Either one, I think, is fine if I'm the Arizona Cardinals. And if the Cardinals have James Conner, who they've extended, who is a underrated running back in the NFL. Like, he's good. And Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming into his own. They have the kid from Stanford, I believe, going into year 3. Like, I still think they could pick up another wide receiver in like round 2 or something.
Yeah.
Like offensive lineman projections are only going to get worse as we go through the draft. And like, so I think if you need to get one, you might have to overpay.
Yeah. I think kind of looking through their roster right now. Unfortunately, on their team website, they don't have a depth chart anymore. They're like, "Hey, wait till next season."
I'm on
that doesn't help me.
At their starting.
But I'm looking at their defensive linemen. They got L.J. Collier, Naquan Jones, Roy Lopez, Darius Robinson, Dante Stills, Kairesis Tonga.
Yeah,
I've never heard of any of those guys. Yeah. I'm gonna go. All right, I'm gonna go edge. I've decided that. Which one do you think would be the best fit there?
Pierce.
Pierce. We're gonna do Pierce.
Okay, Cincinnati.
They have their quarterback.
They do. That's true. I think they're going to lose T. Higgins because I think he's going to want 30 plus, and I've heard that Jamar Chase wants 40.
Wow, that is way more than anybody else. Like, way.
I believe it's $6 million more a year than Justin Jefferson is currently getting.
That's crazy.
But yeah, I've heard that 40 is the number that Chase is currently pushing. I don't know if that's true. That just seems ridiculous. The problem this team had, if T offered to take a pay cut, then Jamar Chase should take a pay cut too. T. Higgins should go and get paid and free. I mean, he is as good a free agent that has entered the open market as we have had in the very recent past. The problem this team had all year was defense. The defense let them down. The defense had been slightly better. This team could have been in the playoffs. So I'm going to take Mike Green as a pass rusher to help out Trey Hendrickson.
Yep. I totally agree. That defense was a real bummer. They would have been a lot of fun in the playoffs. They started picking up at the last part of the season, but they started out so poorly they just couldn't recover.
That's right. Well, every game matters.
Every game matters. First and last, they all count the same in the end.
Mm-hmm.
The Seahawks, I think I'm going to go with Michael Williams as the edge rusher for similar reasons for Arizona. I think they need to get a leg up on their division opponents, and I think getting pressure to the quarterback. Stafford's getting older. He's never been super mobile, right? He's not a scrambler. He can move around if he needs to, but he's primarily a pocket guy. So I think you need to make him as uncomfortable as possible. Brock Purdy, when you see him getting pressured, he's not particularly good. So I think this is their best bet of winning division games. So we're going to take Michael Williams from Georgia.
I will mention, I think it's interesting that Seattle plays a 2-4-5 defense as a base. So, which is interesting because, Mike McDonald is their coach. Mike McDonald was a coach at Baltimore and with the Michigan Wolverines, and Michigan usually runs a 2-4-5 base as well. So I like it. I like the pick. That's all.
Outstanding. I appreciate the vote of confidence there.
I'm really good at this. Yep. This was fantastic.
Tampa Bay, I'm going to give them the best defensive back in the left in the class here. So they're going to take Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. I won't click a button.
I like the player a lot, even though he went to Notre Dame. He has a hip injury that kept him out most of the season. Can I make a suggestion that I think is the same player who does not have the injury concern?
Sure.
Jahdae Barron from Texas. He shouldn't be that far down. He is also a corner. Yeah.
Okay.
Best zone corner in the draft. And Tampa loves zone. Todd Bowles loves zone. So even though Ben Morrison is also a zone corner primarily, he this is a guy who did this thing that they like to do better than
Yep.
Morrison did, and doesn't have an injury concern.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Baron, welcome to Tampa Bay.
This is super easy for me. This is Colston Loveland from Michigan. So keep going. They bumped him down a little bit. He is a wide receiver trapped in a tight end's body. And I think Bo Nix especially will love throwing the ball to Colston Loveland. He's going to be a 7-yard hook right in the middle of the field. He can go up the seam. These two guys feel like best friends as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give them the second tight end to go in the first round at Colston Loveland. This is also a super easy pick for me. This is Emeka Ibuka. This is your slot receiver. And then George Pickens is going to be your outside receiver because they're going to re-sign Russell Wilson. And I think that these two guys are going to be like chocolate and peanut butter.
Such a great combination.
You took Ashton Jeanty, which is the guy that I've been mocking to the Chargers a lot. So I'm going to go with Shamar Stewart here. A lot of upside, a lot of raw tools, really big. Would love to see him in Detroit. But Khalil Mack is an unrestricted free agent, and Bosa wasn't playing as well as he has typically played. And I think this guy would be a nice, like, pop of energy that someone else might have to pay attention to help Joey Bosa on their defensive line. So
yeah, that makes sense. For Green Bay, they struggled getting pressure. And I think basically all of the quarterbacks in the NFC North really struggle. I mean, every quarterback struggles with pressure to some extent, right? But like,
sure.
Look at what Caleb Williams did while he was under pressure. Like, it was a really rough time for him. When Jared Goff actually had pressure, not blitzes. Blitzes are different than pressure, but like when he got a lot of pressure, he turned the ball over. You're going to have a rookie, most likely in Minnesota. I think the best spot for them is to go with a guy like Jack Sawyer and get a little bit more pressure up front. They got a great secondary, right? Let's lean into the defense and get some pressure on the quarterback. Minnesota Vikings, I think they were an interesting one. I picked them to have 5 wins all season, and they damn near beat us out for the first, the winning the division. So I don't know what the hell's going on with them. I was not a good prognosticator. I feel like they could probably use some help on the defensive line.
Yep.
They could probably use some help in the defensive backfield.
Yep.
So basically, any of those 3 guys up top here seem like a good fit for them.
You're right. And Brian Flores, their defensive coordinator, who did not get an offensive coordinator or a head coaching job, which, depending on what happens with Kellen Moore and the Saints, there's still an outside chance that Brian Flores could leave Minnesota. But let's assume that he's back. They blitz more than any other team in the NFL, and they also drop 8 into coverage more than any other team in the NFL. So weird dynamic. Yep. So to me,
you're not doing one, you're doing the other pretty much every time, right?
So to me, the guy that does both, helps them on both of those things, is Walter Nolan. He is enormous 3 technique, should help do whatever they want, to be honest.
All right, let's do it.
This is really easy for me. This is Gray Zabel from North Dakota State as their new center.
Tackle, huh?
Well, so
listed as tackle.
Because that's what he played in college. At the Senior Bowl, he took snaps.
He played a couple.
Yeah,
he played some snaps at guard. He played some snaps at right and left tackle in his career, so he's pretty versatile.
We have as many guys that are offensive line scheme versatile in this class that I can ever remember us having.
Yeah.
And so I think this guy's a center in the NFL. That's what he's being projected as. And their interior of their offensive line was horrendous this year. Horrendous. So we got to fix
And this is about the time in the draft where the best centers go, right?
right.
So
Early to mid 20s. Yep.
all right. The Rams are they still have their quarterback. They still have a running back. They need some tackle help, which unfortunately, as we've seen, it's just not very deep this year. They need some help on the defensive side of the ball, not necessarily on the line. Their line is young and good. They need corner help big time. And I think they're going to go for a guy like Morrison. Injury, possibility be damned. They need somebody back there that can cover because they don't have anybody that can right now.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore.
Wait a second. Did you just take Morrison?
I took Morrison.
Oh, fuck you. God damn it.
They need corner help.
Fuck you.
He's gonna walk in. He's gonna walk in and be the best cornerback on their team.
Oh fuck. All right.
Limping. He's still the best.
Can you click on corners, please?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take Siobhan Ravel from East Carolina. He had a knee injury this year. But he is an excellent zone corner, and the Baltimore Ravens are going to need somebody to replace Brandon Stevens. I think as their primary outside corner. They'll have Wiggins, they'll have Siobhan Ravel, and then I think they'll move Humphrey into the nickel slot role. So, fuck you, Mike. You always.
So Lions are on the clock now. I think we need to lean into our strength and fix the part of our offense that played the worst, which is our guard position. I think that was the worst position on our offense this year was guard. I'm not sure if we're going to have Jonah Jackson back. I don't know if Zeitler is going to retire or sign somewhere else. I think this is the time where we find the best guard available.
Well,
there's just nobody here.
click on internal offensive line up at the top, will you?
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. Like the quickest, the highest graded person is late second round.
So what I've been doing this year to try and beat you guys at our betting game is I've been doing two things. I've been reading on what other teams do on their offensive and defensive schemes, and I've been making a composite draft pick ranking, like prospect ranking. So I'm taking like 5 or 6 websites, getting their top 100 guys, and then creating a composite list. Tyler Booker is not going to be picked in the middle of the second round. Tyler Booker is going to be picked somewhere around here. Now, before you draft him, click on him.
Yeah.
Because here's the problem with Tyler Booker. First of all, size profile, weight profile, that's what the Lions like. This guy fits size.
For a guard, that's pretty good size.
Yes, that's really good. So, like, as linemen trend smaller and faster, this guy is the size the Lions want. Now, he does one thing really well. He pass blocks well. That's what Zeitler does. So, here's the problem, is that the Lions run both gap and outside zone West Coast blocking schemes. And they're going to keep that next year for their running game. So I like this guy, but he's built for it, but like he didn't grade for it. And the only thing that I really like about him is that he's the right size and that he's decent in pass protection. So to me, if the Lions take him, he's their new right guard, and Mahogany probably pushes Glasgow for left guard.
And if Zeitler comes back,
then I would, if you re-sign Zeitler, I would be not looking at a guard here.
Yeah, even on the left, because we need. Jonah. Yeah.
Go look at Mahogany and look how he graded.
Yeah.
Like he graded well in the 2 games that he played. Like the dude's ready to like get more snaps.
So Brian says fine with any kind of pass rush at this pick. Guard is great for day 2.
Sure.
Okay.
So let's look. We can look at him. I know the guy that I want them to draft, and it's the guy sitting at the top of the board right now.
Kenneth Grant.
So, like, if you need, he is a nose. He is the only like true nose tackle in this class. For that position, he's
Jeez.
unbelievably athletic.
6'3", but 339. That's a
And he chased down Katron Allen from Penn State last year when we played him. Like in a foot race, he ran down Penn State's running back. So he is a 0-1 technique. So this is the backup to DJ Reader if you draft him. Okay. So that would be what? So now let's go do what Brian wants. Let's go take a look at pass rushers and see who's left on the board. I will not draft Jack Sawyer onto this squad. Do not.
We already drafted him.
Oh, good.
Green Bay took him.
I do not want Jack Sawyer on this team. Let's just take a look at the edge prospects, Mike. Why don't you just click on the guy that I think fits the best is Princely Uman Mielen is how you say it. Uman Mielen. He's good against the run, good against the pass. He fits the size, weight, speed profile. He has a 22.8 pass rush win rate. That's exceptional.
It's really good.
I quite like him. He seems to be dropping right now after the Senior Bowl. I don't know that he played at the Senior Bowl, but I bet after the combine, this guy pops right back up into the mid first round.
I think that I like a ton is that his best game came against one of the best teams in the FBS, right?
Right. So
he didn't shrink down. Yeah, I'm good with Princely.
Mike, I know Lutchies is over there being like trade out, but like, I think this guy is somebody depending on the intangibles, motor, character, work ethic, that kind of stuff. I don't know about that, but like if the Lions like that kind of stuff, I think this guy's the best fit.
All right, let's do it. Washington. I feel like giving Jaden Daniels another wide receiving threat would probably make them. And again, I think Cooper Kupp would be great there. So, assuming they don't get Cooper Kupp, I think a guy like Matthew Golden would be a pretty good option to boost their offense quite a bit with that pick.
Okay. Hard to say no. Kenneth Grant, done.
Kenneth Grant going to the Buffalo Bills. The Philadelphia Eagles. So now we're getting to the Super Bowl teams. They're really good.
Yeah.
Drew. They've got a great running back. Their quarterback is pretty good. I mean, he's a top 12 quarterback. I wouldn't call him elite, but I would put him just outside of that in that next tier. In that like 6 to 12, 8 to 14 range, depending on the day. They've got a good offensive line. I'm not sure they need much on offense. They got Jalen Carter in the middle of their D. There's just not a lot of holes on this team.
Remember, Howie Roseman he drafts on the principle, like, I'd rather do it a year too early than a year too late.
Yeah.
I have a guy that I think screams Philadelphia Eagle.
Is it Scarton?
It's Donovan Jackson from Ohio State. And you're going to have to scroll down a little ways.
Donovan Jackson, come on. There he is. The tackle.
He had to play tackle because Josh Simmons got hurt, and he was their left guard until then. So he is technically a guard who can play tackle, and they have Mekhi Becton, who is a free agent after this year. Maybe they re-sign him. I don't know. But like, this is a scheme versatile guard tackle on a team that wants to have the best offensive line in the NFL, who has a potential need, who wants to be a year too early on guys. So like, that's my thing.
I'm good with that.
Nick Skirton is another fine pick that I would have no qualms.
Yeah. I'm good with that. I was also thinking like on the wide receiver side, I just don't know if that's going to give them the bang for their buck at pick 31.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm good with Donovan Jackson, even though he's a Buckeye.
Yep.
And finally,
Josh
the
Connerly,
Kansas
all
City
done.
Chiefs. Who?
Josh Connerly, all
Josh
done.
Connerly.
Run it
Yeah, give him
in.
a tackle.
Not even taking trade offers. So, yeah, the Chiefs should only be drafting linemen and wide receivers for like the foreseeable future. So,
All right, I'm going to copy that image. I'm going to throw that into our Discord,
oh my god.
um, just so we have. We'll throw it into the predictions channel.
Okay.
All right. Do we want to do? We're already an hour 10 into this. That we were trying to do a little bit shorter. Do you want to do a 7-rounder, or do you want to talk about this real quick?
We want to promise the mock. We promised the
Yep, we
mock.
promised. Yep.
So let's just jump in.
All right. So we're not doing all teams. We are just doing Detroit, and we are doing all 7 rounds. Care for positional value. Not a ton of randomness. We good?
I think so. This is fine.
All right. Are we trading up at all? In other words, do I need to be ready to pause and?
What we can wait for trading up after free agency hits.
All right.
Ooh.
All right. Wow, we got a couple tackles.
Ooh.
Say Barron?
That's interesting. Keep scrolling.
Definitely don't want another linebacker. We got some decent depth there.
Well, Derek Barnes may not be retained. So, I mean, I have a guy that I want to be their new Sam linebacker, but it's not.
Not at 28.
Correct. Of course, they drafted Campbell at 18, and they didn't ask me about that either.
It's a fair point. Those bastards.
Let's scroll back up to the top. None of these guys fit. He's a zone corner. They're a man corner team. I think Calvin Shepard will keep that.
I was going to say they were a man corner team, but
if he changes, it changes the entirety of what their secondary is set up to do.
Right.
And like guys like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, okay, like that, you could switch from man to zone and it probably isn't a big deal. Terrion Arnold, however, is a man first cover corner.
Yeah.
And like, I just don't think they move away from it. They're not going to take another tight end. It's another zone corner. He's too small. The guy that I like here, I guess, is Alik Ayomaner. I think that this would be the guy that the Lions say this is a Detroit Lion, and this would be, I would re-sign Tim Patrick, and then I would draft this guy to develop into the new Tim Patrick. Like, and to be honest, the weird thing about this is like, I want to draft this guy for how he run blocks.
Yeah. I mean, pretty high drop rate, so that's a real bummer.
Yeah. He played at Stanford. I can't name Stanford's quarterback. It's not Andrew Luck. So I think when you put it there with
it's tough.
Ball placement merchant.
Trade back.
Right. And to be honest, I would. I mean, if I was running the team, I would trade back. So I like this guy, and he fits like the height, weight, speed profile, and he's good at the things that like would make him a 0 or 1 technique nose tackle that you could draft to replace DJ Reader eventually. But he thinks that he's a 3 tech like Aleem McNeil.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you slightly change up what you're trying to do? They went out and got DJ Reader for a reason because they wanted that kind of guy. So like, I don't think that this guy's DJ Reader. I think he's more like Aleem McNeil that's built like DJ Reader. So like, none of these guys.
This is a classic trade back situation, right? But we're not doing trades today.
We're
So
not doing trades. Let's look at
I mean, this is all really good. Pass rush, win
click on
rate,
first look. Click on first look.
6'2", 247.
Name me another pass rusher on the Lions roster that fits that profile. So, like, unless Kelvin Shepard changes the type of pass rushers that he wants on Detroit defense, which he could, that's fine. But then, like, you have guys like you could re-sign Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal, maybe John Kaminsky's retained, even though I think it's unlikely. Like, those are all dudes who are 50 pounds heavier than. I mean, like, I don't know that I would hate this, but you'd have to play. I mean, but like, you're drafting and stashing, and like maybe you play him at guard. I mean, like, click on first look just real quick. I don't know what his height and 6'3". I mean, like, he's not as heavy as they want, but like he's 22. He's 20. He's 20 years old. Shit, maybe you just take this guy and you're like, okay, like.
Yeah, given the mahogany treatment, you're going to sit back.
We're not going to resign Skipper. Like, you can sit and develop for a year. Yeah, all right.
All right. Membao, welcome to Detroit. Next up, pick number 60.
Remember, we also get a pick from Aaron Glenn being hired by the Jets, which will be the end of round 3, which is this simulator's not been updated for that. Oh my god. I would love Donovan Jackson. But you literally just took a guy that does the same exact thing.
If we had just known.
Yeah, if only you'd known, right? Let's see. I think Chris Paul could be somebody if they let Barnes.
Doesn't he play basketball?
He does. For a long time. I don't know who else. I would love a man corner. Kevin Winston would be good here. As a backup, he is a Kirby Joseph backup, I think. He's too small. If I'm thinking of the right guy.
Yeah, 6 foot.
So
I like this. But we don't throw a lot of contested catches.
I don't think
it's either you're wide open.
Yeah.
Or you're wide open. Ben's scheme just gets everybody wide open. Like you're just always wide open.
And they don't run fade.
So yeah. Like, well, he doesn't have the touch to do that, right? He doesn't have that kind of ball placement, which is fine. It's one less tool in his bag, but we don't need that tool. Like our offense isn't designed to use that tool.
Yeah. So scroll back up, will you?
Yeah. Not taking a running back, so I'm going to scroll down just a touch more.
If I had this board looking in front of me, I would draft Eric Harmon.
Oregon Duck, 6'5", 310, big dude.
So
continues to get better.
So let's scroll down a minute here. Right, that's really good. So he took most of his snaps in the B gap. So like he's a 3 technique, So he's Ali McNeil.
Yeah.
But Levi Muzarique's contract is up, and then
McNeil's hurt.
McNeil's hurt. Wingo's hurt. So, like, I think that even if you re-sign Levi Muzarique and this is the way the board fell, and you drafted Derek Harmon, you would be like, well, I mean, it's not like we made Muzarique a pillar of this team, and like if DJ Reader does move on, like, is there any problem with playing McNeil and Harmon side by side for 20 snaps a game?
Right.
That's
or even just rotation. All right, let's go Derek Harmon.
I do think this like defense has to be the primary. So like at the end of round 3 here, just pause it real quick. So it'll be just after pick 100.
Yeah. I want to say we're going to end up with like pick around 103, right?
I was hoping that they would let us look at the draft board, but they're not gonna. So I would love to start draft.
So these are a couple of the guys that would have been available, right?
Kobe Bryant is somebody that I think the Lions would be interested in at the end of the third round, like as a backup corner.
Yeah.
Good size, a lot of athleticism.
All right.
Shit, there he goes. Oh, that was the guy that I wanted. All right.
Who was it?
No, Noel Williams, cornerback from Cal. I don't remember where he went, but
113.
that's the guy that I think meets the like fight. Like he reminds me of Amik Robertson.
Okay.
So okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at who we've picked so far, Mike. See where it says your picks new right above the positional needs at the top of the column.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we've taken a tackle guard and a 3 technique. I'm not loving it. Good players, not loving it.
Right.
Shane Zielstra is probably back on the team. So, like, if you took Mitchell Evans, he's the 4th tight end. But, like, he was considered to
6'5", 260 is a big dude.
Yeah, he is big. And so he's a little bit bigger than our current crop of tight ends are. He's more Brock Wright than anybody else.
Yeah.
He is a contested catch magnet. Like this is the guy that you would throw fades to in the end zone. And I like this guy. And like after his 2 years ago, if he'd come out, he would have been probably a 1st or 2nd rounder. But he went back to Notre Dame, and I don't know if he got hurt or outplayed or what it was, but like he just didn't have as good of a season. It looks like he played all 16, so he didn't get hurt. I think that this guy's a worthwhile inclusion, especially on special teams, but I don't know that I want to take him.
Yeah, and
at right now, I don't know. Oh well, god damn it!
Do we take a guy like Quinn Ewers to potentially replace Hooker?
Let's have.
We don't have to get into it today. Maybe that's a future mock.
Well, let's just look at 1 or 2 more prospects, and then we'll have that.
All right.
Okay, so the guy that I would take here if the board fell this way is Aeneas Peebles from Virginia Tech. The problem is...
Did I pass him? Oh, there he is, yeah.
The problem is we've already taken guys at this exact position, and now you're really into the weeds, on being overstocked at 3 techs. Click on the first look for me, will you? Let's get height, weight, speed. 6'1", 290. Go to stats. Go back to stats real quickly. Let's see where he played on the line, where he took most of his snaps. So okay, he played in the big gap, so he's 3 technique. So I like this guy. I mean, I think he fits the.
Can we go back and undraft a dude?
Well, see, that's.
I don't think it works that way.
This draft is so chock full of like defensive players. I mean, Brad drafted, signed, and traded for a corner last year. No one saw that coming.
Right.
Like, do you do that with the interior of your defensive line? The problem is that there's no nose tackles. That's the problem. Like, so if this was the board and I was the GM, I would just draft Quinn Ewers. I like Quinn Ewers. He reminds me of Matt Stafford. He's smaller Matt Stafford. Like is the way that I think of him. He's bad under pressure, which okay, the Lions mitigate to some degree, but I think he can make every throw. Like, and I don't think we have that right now. He's not a runner, but I think that he's pocket mobile. And I mean, if you look, like he played really well against Michigan, he played good against Georgia.
He had a 30 grade against Georgia.
Go look at the
first one. Yeah. This is getting closer to the end.
I think he got hurt in that first Georgia game.
Why did they play Georgia twice? Was this playoffs?
College football playoff. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
No, that was the SEC title game.
All right. Do you want to go Quinn?
I don't think that they'll do it.
All right. Well, what do you think we'll do then?
I don't know. Take Billy Bowman from Oklahoma. I mean, I like that guy, but I mean, we've already drafted a guard, so
We might need two.
yeah, just scroll up. Yeah, I would take Billy Bowman from Oklahoma, and he's just a backup safety. Of course, this is round 4.
This is
so,
round 4. We're expecting that, right?
Yeah. Too bad that Hatters isn't here, man. Hatters would be all in this. Oh shit! I'm seeing the names tick off the board here, and I saw a guy that I thought would have been good. I just didn't think about him when we made our pick. Doesn't matter. Oh, I love Jay Higgins.
6'3", 315. Great gap, great pass block, run block. I mean, do we take a guy like Majors and say, all right, well, Ragnow keeps being year to year. Let's do the Howie Roseman special and draft and stash a year early.
I don't mind that. I mean, they have Michael Neese, I think, is their quote-unquote backup center now that he's healthy going into next season. And they have a practice squad project, Kingsley Aguican from Florida, who I think they're trying to see if he'll develop into a backup center. Neither one of those guys to me would be like, oh, okay, we have a chance to draft like Jake Majors. We like Jake Majors. I'm not going to draft Jake Majors because I have Michael Neese. Like,
right.
So yeah, I wouldn't mind him.
I mean, camp battles are a thing, right? So,
right. So let's just scroll down real quickly before we take him, just to see if anybody pops.
6'1", 195. So he's going to be short and fast. Short, taller than me, but
for a football player,
yeah.
Just one more scroll. Okay, yeah. So I don't mind.
I keep looking at wide receivers just because I know that's where we need a little bit of depth on the offensive side.
Sure. I wouldn't mind walking out of the draft with a couple of backup wide receivers.
Yeah.
I'm fine with
that. All right, what do we think? Who?
The guy from Texas.
Majors?
Yeah.
All right.
It'll score well on
the grade?
Yeah. Got it late, primary need.
All right, I don't think we're taking quarterbacks, or we would have taken Ewers up front, right? So we've got ourselves a guard, we've got ourselves a center, we've got safety, defensive lineman.
Yeah,
what are we thinking?
I would draft Malachi Moore.
All right, let's do it.
Just a special teamer and another backup safety. Just the safety room is barren beyond our starters.
All right, this is our last pick.
Keep scrolling. Doesn't really matter the rankings at this point. Oh, Tommy Hill's still on the board.
6'1", 190.
Every wide receiver in this draft is 6'1", 190.
Seems like it.
Oh, what is click on Shamari Simmons.
He's 6 foot, 195.
Never mind. This is not the dude.
Zone.
Yeah. It's hard to find man corners now. Oh, you could take Rock Taylor if you want a big. I think he's pretty big. 6'3", 215.
6'3", 215.
So he's
contested catch is good.
Short of Tim Patrick. So if you want a developmental Tim Patrick, I mean, this could be a guy. Remember, Antoine Green is still on the roster. So you could have, but you would be losing guys like Allen Robinson. You'd be losing guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones for rookies who you're paying nothing, who are going to be on the team for 4 years. Like,
yeah, and potentially just as good, higher ceiling.
Right. And if they don't work out, like, oh no, we cut our 7th round pick. Like, who fucking cares? Like,
right. All right, Rock it is.
We earned an award. board.
Survey says
I take forever. Yeah, they hate it, of course. So
yeah, we got a B.
yeah,
You're
so,
right. They graded Jake Majors pretty high. 2
Yep.
safeties. Interesting. So, if this was the and obviously we would have a pick right around 103. If this is what we end up with, is this one of the more disappointing classes?
Oh yeah.
And that's the way it is when you're good. You get this because you're drafting real late, right? You're not drafting at like 15 and 45. You're drafting at 28 and 60, right? There are tiers, and you just end up in the top of the next tier instead of the bottom of the better, the first tiers.
So let's just imagine something else though, real quick. They don't
Yeah.
resign Tim Patrick for whatever
Okay.
reason. They trade for Cooper Kupp. There's a connection, LA Detroit connection. Cooper Kupp becomes your guy on the outside. He'll block. I mean, I don't think he'll block
Okay,
as well as Tim Patrick, but like that's
I don't know, man. Cooper Kupp he's a lot like he's the kind of guy that they like when it comes to, all right, we expect you to block if you want the rock.
But his route tree pairs up so well with what Goff wants to throw that I think that he would be a nice fit. So let's just say you throw out your 4th round pick, your 5th round pick you throw that to the Rams for Kupp. Okay, so there's one. Like, do the Lions decide that they want to put some picks together either in this class or in the upcoming draft year out and move up? We've seen them move up from 32 to 12. We have seen them move up last year 3-4 spots in order to target a guy who was on their board. So that's the issue, is that we don't know who's on their board. I am compiling a list of players that I think could be on their board, but I don't know that those guys are.
Right.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if the Lions walk out of this class with 4 players.
Instead of like 6.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about that F them picks kind of thing. And that can be a couple different ways, right? You can F them picks by, I'm going to trade them for known quantities, like, Myles Garrett, Cooper Kupp, that kind of stuff. But the other F them picks is, I'm going to package my picks to move up for a higher pick, not just another player. To your point, if we end up with 3 or 4 players, but they are higher end and exactly what we're looking for, that's better than having 6 players that are just like, we don't really know. They're just the best that's, available. So I definitely can see that being a possibility.
So the thing that I think is something I'm quote unquote on the watch for, and I think that Brian is alluding to it in the chat right now, is that Brad moves around. Like, he's not just a trade up guy. He'll trade down. But if there's a guy at any point in the draft that they think is their guy, they'll go get it, and they'll spend whatever they have to go get that guy. Broderick Martin, Giovanni Manu, Siami Vaki, I can't remember. JMO. They, and they have taken guys because of picks they've traded down with. Derek Barnes, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think that to bring kind of the idea to a close here today, Brad Holmes will do whatever it takes to put himself in the position to have the most flexibility possible as they head into the draft. So to me, what that means is he will have a roster that you can put on the field before the draft. Last year we saw that, like, the first core guys who were eligible for extensions got extensions. So I am expecting that in late March, you're going to see guys like Hutchinson, maybe Jameson, maybe Kirby Joseph, Josh Paschal, Derek Barnes, certainly some of them, or all of them get extensions, depending on who they think is a core guy that they want around for the long term. And that's going to help solidify what they can do as they go into the draft. And then once they're in the draft, they're going to be patient. They're going to see how the board falls. And they're, if there's a guy within reach that's on their board, I wouldn't be surprised if they went up and got him. The problem is I just don't know who those guys are. So the words that I'm looking for when I'm reading articles and listening to commentary is work ethic, won't quit, nonstop motor, team leader, high character, high football IQ, guys that like we have now heard those things said about people like Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs. And like people like Jamison Williams and Jahmyr Gibbs, even Sam Laporta to an extent, are versatile offensive weapons. And the only difference between this roster going into this class and every other draft that Brad has done is there's no real spot that you can say, oh, that's a definitive need. So like,
right.
There's nothing that's like, oh, well, they can take Aiden Hutchinson at 2 because they have no pass rush.
Yeah. Our floor is much higher, right? At one point, we could take anybody because it's probably better than what we had.
Right.
Our floor is so high, we actually have a bar that we have to meet now before when we add somebody, they're like, all right, you need to be at least this in order to even make the team. That wasn't the case 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Great position to be in. But again, that also gives that opportunity to go, all right, I don't need 6 dudes. I just need 3 dudes that fit. Like I need 3 of the right dudes over 6 random dudes. Because you're going to hit on enough of those random dudes to raise your floor. Not anymore. We'll see. I'll be curious to see how things go. I'll be really curious about our offseason. Do we try to go for a Cooper Kupp? Everything I've read is Jared Goff and Kupp got along fine. There was no animosity or anything like that. Remember the last time that the Red Wings, the Lions picked up somebody that Jared Goff played for? He was a safety blanket, right? Reynolds. He played really well, kind of revived his career in Detroit for a couple years, was Goff's safety blanket alongside of St. Brown. Like, I think Cooper Kupp could be that guy. I'm not sure that we're willing to take the cap hit for it, but we have the money, so maybe we will. I'd love to see a lineup of Jameson, Cooper Kupp, and Amon-Ra St. Brown with Sam Laporta out there. And then guys like Khalif Raymond, that can like rotate in. That'd be great. I'd love that.
I think the Lions cap situation is quickly becoming something that they're not going. Hey, Zakwa is going to be something that they're not going to be able to be like, oh, well, we can just make this move now, or whatever.
Right.
Like, Goff's cap hit in 2 years is $60 million. So they're going to have to I just don't see any way that they can be paying as many guys as they're probably going to pay. And if they keep paying them at the like level that they're paying them, making them like top 5 at their position, I don't see how they're going to be able to have the kind of cap flexibility, 30, 40 million bucks that they want to have to like for player elevations off their practice squad and that kind of thing if you don't restructure. So that's a part of the NFL. That's a part of managing your cap now. It's a common practice, but like that's where we're headed. And like, it's only going to get worse because I think they're going to re-sign 4 guys to like long-term contract extensions, and like, to me, that says you're not really in the market to trade for another $10 million plus contract.
Yeah.
And so like, while it's fun to think about, oh, Cooper Kupp and Myles Garrett and all these guys, on the roster or whatever, like, I just don't think that it's financially feasible, even if the cap continues to go up, which it's projected to.
Yeah.
So
if I had to pick between Kupp and Garrett, I think it's pretty obvious which one everybody would want, right?
Yeah. I think so. So we'll get in more into the Myles Garrett situation maybe next week, like before we recap the Super Bowl. But this was fun. I liked the first round mock. I thought that was a lot of fun. And then we certainly did the Lions mock differently than we have in the past. So I'm also a big fan of that.
Yeah, and the way that everything just fell away from everything that we needed and wanted to do, and that's real life, right? That's the kind of stuff that these GMs are like, oh, at least there's this guy left, and then the team right in front of them takes that guy, and they're like, I don't have anybody that I projected at this high for the next 10 picks worth, so we need to bounce back. Oh crap, no one wants to trade up. For us to bounce back, what do we do here? And then you end up with a draft class like what we had, which I don't think either of us were super excited about.
No. And the thing that I've always loved about the draft is that it's completely if the draft was just chalk every year, I'd be like, what's going on? And you just have that variety that you can never predict, because ultimately it comes down to 32 guys who you don't know exactly how they think, reacting in real time to something they can't really control. And that makes the guessing game unbelievably difficult, which is fun because you're wrong the overwhelming majority of the time. But I'm sure that we'll walk out of that with a player. Even if it's a player that I'm just like, really? I'm now certain that they see something in that guy that I can't see, and where are the examples of players they've picked that haven't worked out where I can be like, no.
Yeah, that was a terrible idea.
Oh, well, he's gonna be like this guy. I just don't have those to bank my skepticism or cynicism upon. So
the closest guys are Anu Zarike, who's been injury battled, right? But I mean, all of our JMO had some suspension issues early. He came off of injury, then he was suspended, and it was all that kind of stuff. But he played really well this past year, and I don't see why he doesn't continue that this next year.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of anybody else that's even on that list other than maybe Anu Zarike that has been a quote-unquote dud. And I'm not thinking any. I can't think of anybody. So I guess in Brad we trust until he proves us wrong, right?
The thing I'll say about that is I don't think Brad is locked into any one idea. Or I guess the better way to say it is, if you took all the draft strategies that we've heard about, BPA, draft for need, positional value, whatever, Brad does none of them. He does aspects of all of them. They're targeting very specific players, I think akin to the way that the Patriots used to. So I don't know that I'm just going to be like, this guy's going to work out because Brad Holmes drafted him, even though that's been largely what's happened.
Yeah.
I think now when he drafts a guy, I'm not going to be like, no, a running back and a linebacker. Ew. I'll be like, I'm interested to see what the plan is for this player.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what's changed. That's how my outlook has changed. So
right on. All right, guys. We kept it under 2 hours like we planned. So #winning. We will be back next week with a final draft order, right? We know the first 30 or 31. 30. We don't know who's drafted 31st or 32nd yet, but we'll talk about the Super Bowl, what happened there. My hope is I'd like to see a little bit of history made. I'd love to see Kansas City win. I like Mahomes. I like Kelsey. I like Reed. I'd be fine with Philly winning. I like Saquon Barkley. I like Jalen Hurts. Jalen Carter is always fun to watch. I'm not a huge fan of their coach, but I'm fine with either of those guys. What I don't want is to have some stupid referee controversy NFL's rigged nonsense because of a bad call. Just if I can just get a game with basically no bad calls, I don't care who wins.
Yeah. I'm rooting for Kansas City. So,
yeah.
And hopefully I'll have my house fixed by next week, and that would be great. Probably not.
That would be fantastic.
We'll see.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Go KC, and good luck on the house, Drewster.
Thanks. One pride.
All right. Whoop. Later.